The scratch marks left on the wall should have been a record of pain, as proof that something passed through there, that something resisted, and that something tested the world's hardness. The white scars are preserved in silence. These scratch marks are far too light. They were not carved by anguish, but drawn by an imitation of it. Just as a butterfly pinned inside a specimen box displays only the concept of flight, we sometimes collect not the facts of our wounds, but the stories of having been wounded. We dry out the sorrow that should have been lost, pin it down like a taxidermist, and attach a label that reads, "This was me." But what is truly terrifying is not that the pain disappears. It is that the corpse of pain remains longer than the living emotion. Memory is a preservation technique. Forgetting is a natural phenomenon. That is why humans continue to preserve what should decay. The wreckage of love, the outline of defeat, the fossil of pride. These are displayed in the Museum of Time and in exhibition rooms devoid of visitors. They narrate their own stories forever. Wounds that no longer hurt anyone. Pure traces, severed from anger, severed from sorrow, exiled from both cause and effect. I stand frozen before that taxidermy. There is nothing there. And yet, something is undeniably missing. A void where absence itself has become the exhibit. Or perhaps an extinction that failed to vanish. The scratch marks say nothing. Only the scraped-away surface remains, a minor protest against the world. And we, unable to bear its lightness, keep adding the weight of meaning afterward, as if to give a frame named fate to a wound the universe created by chance. It is not memory. It is the quietest self-portrait, created by oblivion to conceal its own imperfection. The force that must have been exerted by someone is gently supported by display threads, and the audience gazes upon that absence as evidence. The mark is light. Precisely because it is too light, it asserts its weight. Lightness becomes a paradox, a scale for measuring the gravity of existence. The scratch does not speak. It speaks precisely because it does not speak. Silence is dried and preserved, and light traces its edges in place of words. The edges are thin. The thinner they are, the sharper they become. Events layered like thin paper eventually become labels on museum specimens. When we read those labels, we always pretend to be tracing the traces of someone's hand. But what we are truly chasing is the shadow of time that refused to be chased, and the dwelling place of pain that has never been touched. Taxidermy is a technique of preservation, and also a stratagem of oblivion. Scratch marks that are too light continue to play the part of lightness forever, precisely because they have escaped being forgotten. When we touch that lightness, we realize for the first time that our fingertips are scratching at air. In a place where only air remains, the traces laugh quietly. Rather than the fact that a nail scratched the wall, only the remnants of the verb scratched have become a specimen inside the glass case. It is precisely because something is light that it leaves a trace. A storm uproots trees. Yet the lightness with which a gentle breeze carries pollen is not another name for violence, but another face of the delicacy that refused to vanish. Whose nails were these? The subject has long since departed, leaving only the mark behind. Eventually, even that mark is sublimated into the concept of a scratch, and the individual, that night's, that angle's, that fleeting moment's animal nature is laid to rest in the coffin of a category. Visitors quietly admire the scars displayed on the museum walls. Was this pain? Or was it joy? Or was it simply the friction of something trying to pass by? A contact too light to even become a scream is only when placed within a frame that it is first clothed in the heaviest of taxidermy. Meaning, the claw mark stripped of all interpretation was light, and that is fine. The universe does not remember. Stones do not bear witness, yet the carved groove simply exists there. Its very existence is a living lightness that already rejects taxidermy. A claw mark is, by nature, a localized ontological laceration that occurs the moment contact transcends the self. But the one displayed before me was not the result of contact, but a secondary void created when the concept of contact reflected upon itself. It is not a wound. A self-substituting mechanism constructed in advance as an empty shell, resulting from a wound's premonition of future oblivion. Therefore, no trace of pain exists there. What exists is a collection of silent annotations compiled solely to record the possibility that pain once existed. I gaze at that claw mark. Then the claw mark detaches from the wall, and the wall itself is stored within the claw mark. It is not that the inside and outside have been reversed.